My friends! The Detroit Lions are finally turning a corner at the exact right time of the season. For once, it feels like everything is aligning: health, momentum, and confidence. Just as the playoff picture starts to take shape, fans remember too well how this part of the year used to look. Bodies breaking down, depth being tested beyond reason, and the team limping into December hoping for a miracle. Not this time. This time, the narrative is flipped. The story in Detroit is about recovery, resurgence, and readiness for a real playoff run. Two key players, DJ Reed and Marcus Davenport, have officially begun their 21-day practice window to return from injured reserve, and that news alone has sent a jolt of energy through the fan base. So go ahead and drop a like to show some support. And the DJ Reed's name immediately brings reassurance. He's the team's top cornerback, and his return couldn't be timed better. With the younger defensive backs gaining valuable experience during his absence, this secondary is no longer the weak spot it once was. In fact, it has become one of the team's most quietly impressive units. The film doesn't lie. Their positioning, communication, and awareness have all improved drastically. Now imagine inserting Reed back into that mix. It's not just about adding a talented player. It's about restoring balance and leadership to a defense that's already trending upward. The Lions' secondary, once thin and uncertain, now looks complete, deep, disciplined, and hungry. Then there's Marcus Davenport, a player who has battled injuries throughout his career but still brings undeniable strength and power to the edge. The difference now is that Detroit doesn't need him to carry the load. Thanks to the emergence of players like Al-Quadin Muhammad, Davenport can rotate in strategically, staying fresh and maximizing his impact without pushing his body too far. It's the perfect situation for him, and for the Lions' defensive line, which thrives on relentless rotation and energy. When Davenport's on the field, he sets the edge with authority, he disrupts rhythm. And when he's part of a rotation instead of forced to play every down, his presence becomes that much more dangerous. Dan Campbell and the coaching staff aren't rushing either player back into action, which makes sense. The Lions have learned to play the long game. Sunday night's matchup against the Eagles will likely come too soon for both, but the calendar points towards something symbolic: the Thanksgiving Day game against Green Bay. If there's a return date circled in red ink at Allen Park, it's that one. A divisional showdown in front of a national audience, with playoff implications heavy in the air. It feels like the perfect stage for two key defensive reinforcements to make their comeback. And this time, the story isn't just about surviving injuries, it's about thriving through them. The backups have done more than hold the line. They've developed, sharpened, and proved they can handle the moment reps that once felt like desperation now look like preparation. That's how good organizations are built, not with panic when starters go down, but with trust in the next man up. Meanwhile, the offense continues to roll. Jahmyr Gibbs just captured the Offensive Player of the Week award, and it feels like the beginning of a trend rather than a one-off highlight. Every time he touches the football, something electric happens.
His explosiveness adds a new dimension to Detroit's ground game, and his chemistry with David Montgomery creates a dynamic duo that's giving defenses fits. Think thunder and lightning, or as some fans have joked, Sonic and Knuckles. Montgomery's punishing runs between the tackles were defenses down, while Gibbs's bursts of speed turn small holes into game-breaking plays. It's a balance that allows both backs to stay fresh and the offense to stay unpredictable. Some fans have floated wild ideas about replacing Montgomery or trading him down the line, but that kind of talk misses the point. Montgomery's power running is essential to what Detroit does best: controlling the tempo, winning in the trenches, and closing out games. You don't dismantle something that's working this well. Instead, the coaching staff's challenge is to find the perfect workload split that keeps both players healthy and ready for the stretch run. And speaking of the stretch run, the Lions are about to hit their toughest stretch yet. The matchup against Philadelphia looms large, with Vegas labeling Detroit a 2.5-point underdog. But let's be honest, that feels like an outdated perception more than a fair assessment. The Lions are one of the highest scoring teams in the league, averaging over 31 points per game. The Eagles' defense is formidable, sure, but their numbers suggest they're not untouchable. Detroit's offense can move the ball on anyone, and when Jared Goff gets into a rhythm under the primetime lights, he's proven to be surgical. Defensively, the Lions have quietly built one of the most complete units in the league. They stop the run, pressure quarterbacks, and capitalize on turnovers. The secondary, already strong, is about to get stronger. And even though Philadelphia brings talent on both sides of the ball, their offensive line has shown cracks, aging in spots and struggling to protect consistently. Detroit's front seven could feast if they bring the same intensity we've seen over the past few weeks. The numbers tell one story: two balanced teams meeting under bright lights, but the energy around this Lions group tells another. This feels different. This team feels different. The chemistry, the depth, the confidence, it's all peaking right when it matters most. They're no longer just playing to prove something. They're playing because they belong. And that brings us to the question every Lions fan is asking right now. As the health improves, the stars return, and the playoffs draw closer, do you believe this is finally the year Detroit takes that next step? Because when you look at this team, from the top down, it's hard not to believe something special is happening. The way they've handled adversity, the way Dan Campbell has built a culture around resilience and trust, the way the players buy into every snap, every inch, every rep, it all feels like the blueprint of a team that's not just trying to compete, but to conquer. There's no panic in the locker room, no sense of desperation when things go wrong. Instead, there's composure, there's unity. It's the mark of a program that's maturing before our eyes. And what stands out most is that this roster is peaking at the exact right time. Every coach talks about getting hot in December, but few teams actually pull it off. The Lions might. You can sense it in the way they're playing. The offensive line is bullying again, winning at the point of attack. The defensive front, once criticized for inconsistency, now swarms like a single organism. And Jared Goff, calm, confident, and efficient, is steering the offense with surgical precision. He's not trying to do too much. He's simply executing. That's the formula that wins in the postseason. Now, the upcoming matchup with the Eagles is more than just another game. It's a measuring stick, a statement opportunity, a chance for Detroit to show the entire league that their rise isn't a fluke. Philadelphia has long been considered one of the NFC's toughest teams, but if we're being honest, they've looked vulnerable. Their offensive line has struggled to create running lanes. Their defense, though still solid, is giving up more yards than expected, especially against teams with balance like the Lions. And balance is exactly what Detroit brings. They can beat you with power or finesse, through the air or on the ground. When you combine that with the discipline Campbell has instilled, it's a dangerous mix for anyone standing in their way. The energy at Allen Park this week reflects that. The players know what's at stake. They know that this isn't just another regular season test. It's a chance to reshape the narrative around their franchise. No longer the underdogs. No longer the team everyone overlooks. The Lions have earned the right to walk into any stadium believing they can win. And you can feel that belief spreading beyond the locker room, into the city, into the fan base, into every single person who's waited years for this kind of football to return to Detroit. And if they pull it off, if they go into Philadelphia and dominate, that would send shockwaves through the entire NFC. Because this isn't just about proving they can beat the Eagles. It's about proving that this version of the Lions is built to last. It's about showing the league that the rebuild is over, the roar is real, and it's here to stay. But what makes this moment even more exciting is how sustainable it feels. This team isn't built on one superstar or one lucky stretch of games. It's built on layers, depth, development, and direction. The coaching staff has found ways to get contributions from everywhere. The young players are growing. The veterans are leading. The chemistry between offense and defense, between players and coaches, between the team and the fans, it's something we haven't seen in Detroit for a very long time. And let's not overlook the fact that this defense, already improving each week, could soon be adding DJ Reed and Marcus Davenport back into the mix. Think about that for a second. A secondary that's already holding strong, getting its number one quarterback. A defensive line that's been generating consistent pressure, adding a proven edge setter to its rotation. That's not just a boost, that's an injection of power, timing, and experience right when the schedule tightens. The Lions could be walking into December healthier and deeper than they've been all year. Imagine that combination, Gibbs and Montgomery grinding defenses down, Amon-Ra St. Brown finding space underneath, the offensive line controlling time of possession, and a defense that can rush, tackle, and cover with confidence. That's championship football, and it's being played in Detroit. What's also striking is the quiet swagger this team carries. It's not loud. It's not arrogant. It's built on effort and execution. Campbell's fingerprints are all over it. Every time the Lions step on the field, you can see his influence, the aggression, the discipline, the refusal to back down. It's contagious. You can see it in players like Aiden Hutchinson, who never takes a play off, or Alex Anzalone, who continues to anchor the middle with poise and intelligence. Everyone's bought in. Everyone's doing their job. And that's why this team keeps winning. Now the question isn't whether the Lions can compete, it's how far they can go. They've proven they can beat good teams. They've proven they can respond to adversity. The next step is proving they can sustain this all the way through January. And with the roster getting healthier, the momentum building, and the locker room more unified than ever, it's hard not to feel like this could be the year Detroit finally breaks through the ceiling. So, Lions fans, this is where you come in. You've watched this team claw its way back to relevance. You've seen them grow from hope to belief. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Can the Lions keep this momentum alive and make their mark against Philadelphia? Drop your thoughts below. And if you believe the roar is just getting started, make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and keep it locked right here, because we're just getting started, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Because this isn't just another season, it's the culmination of years of frustration, patience, and rebuilding finally converging into something real. You can feel it in every snap, every drive, every sideline reaction. The Detroit Lions aren't sneaking up on anyone anymore. They've arrived. They're carrying themselves like contenders, not dreamers, and that changes everything. Look at the way they're executing late in games. In past years, the fourth quarter was where things fell apart. One mistake, one missed assignment, one bad bounce, and it all unraveled. But this year, it's different. This team finishes. They play with a level of poise that comes from trust. Trust in the system, trust in the preparation, trust in each other. Dan Campbell's message of grit isn't just a catchphrase anymore. It's their identity. It's what defines them in the trenches, in the huddle, and in the most critical moments when the pressure is suffocating. You can see how that attitude has reshaped the locker room. Jared Goff, once dismissed by critics as a bridge quarterback, has become the heartbeat of the offense. His leadership has been steady, his accuracy sharp, and his command of the playbook absolute. He's not forcing heroics, he's orchestrating football the right way. And that's exactly what wins championships. Around him, the pieces are fitting perfectly. A dominant offensive line that sets the tone every week, receivers who understand their roles, and a backfield that's become one of the most lethal combinations in the league. Defensively, it's the same story. What Aaron Glenn and Kelvin Shepard have done with this group deserves massive credit. The defensive line rotation has been relentless, keeping fresh legs on the field and quarterbacks on edge. The run defense, once a liability, is now a strength, closing gaps, tackling with precision, forcing opponents into uncomfortable passing situations. And when the secondary plays tight, disciplined coverage behind them, everything just clicks. Add in the soon-to-return DJ Reed and Marcus Davenport, and you're looking at a unit that could reach another level entirely. But here's the thing that separates this Lions team from so many in the past. They're not satisfied. Every player talks about accountability. Every coach talks about improvement. Even in victories, you can sense the hunger to clean up mistakes, to refine details, to dominate rather than just survive. That mindset is what separates good teams from great ones. And make no mistake, the Lions are trending toward greatness. Now, when you look ahead at the schedule, you can't help but think about what this stretch means. Games like the one against Philadelphia aren't just tests, they're turning points. Win that matchup, and the conversation around Detroit changes overnight. National media starts to talk differently. Analysts stop saying maybe and start saying watch out. The respect that this fan base has been waiting decades for would finally be earned. Not given, earned through blood, sweat, and a lot of grit. And maybe that's what makes this moment so powerful, the sense that we're witnessing something bigger than football. For so long, Detroit has been the underdog of the NFL, the team people laughed off, the franchise used as a cautionary tale for what not to do. But now, the tone has shifted completely. The Lions aren't just relevant, they're feared. Opponents prepare for them differently. Analysts talk about them differently. And fans across the country are starting to realize what those in Detroit have known all year. This team is built different. You can feel it in how they handle adversity. Take any of the tough stretches this season, they never lost their composure. Instead of panic, they responded with precision. When they were down, they adjusted. When they were counted out, they came swinging back harder. That's what maturity looks like in the NFL. That's what leadership from the top down can do. Dan Campbell's fingerprints are everywhere, and the culture he's built is the backbone of everything happening right now. The Lions don't just talk about grit anymore, they embody it. Every yard gained, every tackle made, every comeback won, it all comes from a place of belief. And that belief is spread through the entire locker room. Veterans like Goff, Montgomery, and Anzalone set the tone, but it's the younger players, Gibbs, Hutchinson, Branch, Laporta, who've turned belief into production. It's rare to see a young core like this one play with so much composure, and that's a credit to coaching and preparation. Every week, the Lions step onto the field looking like a team that's learned from every mistake, that understands how to win not just physically, but mentally, and that's where great teams separate themselves. Now, as we look toward this defining stretch of the season, the Lions have something no spreadsheet or stat line can measure: momentum. The kind that builds slowly and then explodes when everything clicks. Their offense is humming, their defense is tightening, and most importantly, their health is returning at exactly the right time. Getting DJ Reed and Marcus Davenport back could be the push that transforms this team from dangerous to dominant. Reed brings stability and leadership to the secondary, while Davenport adds the extra layer of edge presence that keeps offensive coordinators guessing. and with both of them returning fresh, just as the playoff race heats up, the timing couldn't be more perfect. But beyond the personnel, there's something deeper, something emotional, about what's happening in Detroit right now. This city has waited decades for a team like this. Generations of fans who've seen heartbreak after heartbreak are finally watching a team that reflects their own resilience. Every win feels like validation. Every roar from Ford Field feels louder, more meaningful. The bond between the city and its team isn't just strong, it's unbreakable. And that connection fuels the players as much as their play fuels the fans. It's a cycle of belief, and it's growing stronger with every passing week. Think about how poetic it would be for this team to walk into Philadelphia, under the primetime lights, as underdogs on paper but lions in spirit, and walk out victorious. To take down a team that's long been considered the NFC's measuring stick and prove that Detroit belongs at the top of that conversation. It wouldn't just be another win. It would be a message, a declaration, a statement that echoes far beyond one game. The Lions are done rebuilding. They're ready to contend. And you can see that belief in every detail, the way the players talk in interviews, the way Campbell looks on the sideline, the way Goff commands the huddle. It's confidence, not arrogance. It's purpose. This team knows what it wants, and it knows how to get there. They're not chasing hope anymore, they're chasing history. For the first time in decades, Detroit isn't waiting for someone else's downfall to make a playoff push. They're taking control of their own destiny. They're writing their own story, one drive, one stop, one victory at a time. Every week, the national spotlight gets a little brighter, and every week, the Lions respond by proving they belong there. And that's what's so exciting. This doesn't feel temporary. It doesn't feel like a lucky streak or a Cinderella story. It feels sustainable. It feels built to last. The foundation is too strong, the leadership too stable, and the belief too genuine for it to fade away. What's happening in Detroit right now feels like the beginning of an era, the kind of era fans will look back on years from now and say, that's when everything changed. Because maybe, just maybe, this is how dynasties start, not with flash, but with fight, not with hype, but with heart. And the Detroit Lions have more heart than anyone in the league right now. So as we move closer to that massive showdown in Philadelphia, and with the playoffs on the horizon, the question isn't whether the Lions are good enough. They've already proven that. The question now is how far this team can really go when everything is on the line. Can they beat the Eagles on their own turf and send a message to the entire NFL that the road to the Super Bowl might just run through Detroit? Drop your thoughts below, Lions fans. I want to hear your predictions, your confidence level, your energy going into this matchup. And if you believe, if you feel this same momentum building like the rest of us do, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with us right here, because we're going to be covering every snap, every roar, every historic moment still to come. The story of the 2025 Detroit Lions is being written right now, and trust me, you'll want to be here for every chapter. And when you really stop to think about it, there's something almost poetic about how this team's story is unfolding. The Detroit Lions have been through years of doubt, heartbreak, and rebuilds that seemed endless, but now, every ounce of that pain feels like it had a purpose. Every loss, every setback, every time fans were told to wait until next year, it all led to this. Because this year, next year finally arrived. The culture Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes built from the ground up is showing its true form, and it's built on more than just talent. It's built on belief, accountability, and a hunger that's contagious. That's the thing people outside of Detroit still don't fully understand. This team isn't flashy in the way some national favorites are. They don't rely on gimmicks or star power to carry them. They win because they outwork everyone. They prepare harder. They play tougher. Every single player has bought into the idea that no job is too small, no play too meaningless, no rep wasted. That's what's changing the DNA of this franchise, a blue-collar mindset in a blue-collar city that's tired of waiting to be respected. And you can see it translating onto the field in every possible way. Watch how the offensive line moves as one, creating lanes that make the backfield look unstoppable. Watch how Gibbs and Montgomery complement each other like they've been sharing a backfield for years, the shiftiness of one opening space for the bruising power of the other. Watch how Jared Goff stands tall in the pocket, scanning calmly, delivering strikes like a veteran who knows exactly who he is. This isn't a team searching for an identity anymore. This is a team that's found it, and now they're using it to impose their will on opponents. Defensively, it's the same transformation. The front seven plays with attitude, a controlled violence that forces offenses out of rhythm. The secondary, once a question mark, now plays like a confident, connected unit that trusts each other completely. With DJ Reed's return on the horizon, the coverage could tighten even more, giving the pass rush more time to hunt. And Marcus Davenport's pending return might be the most underrated factor of all. His physicality on the edge could be the missing piece that turns this defense from good to elite. You can almost picture it now, Hutchinson crashing in from one side, Davenport anchoring the other, and the middle collapsing with relentless pressure. That's the kind of defense that wins playoff games in January. But even as the Lions keep stacking wins, it's how they're doing it that makes them special. They're not just beating teams, they're dictating the terms. They're playing with rhythm, patience, and confidence, the kind of football that forces opponents to adjust to them instead of the other way around. And when the Lions control tempo, it's over. They grind you down, break your will, and close games with a calm, cold efficiency that feels unfamiliar to anyone who's followed this team for the past decade. That's not luck, that's growth. The upcoming stretch, starting with the Eagles, is where we find out just how high this ceiling is. Philadelphia has been the measuring stick in the NFC for the past 2 seasons, tough, physical, experienced. But Detroit isn't backing down from that. They're embracing it. They want that smoke. They want to walk into a hostile environment under the bright lights and make a statement that the balance of power in the NFC is shifting. And based on how this team is trending, health improving,